it's Dick here with today's LifeApp, coming from the Kootenays in the Columbia Valley here behind me, and what a beautiful view of the steeples and the mountain range behind us, and a beautiful day. It's just going to be an absolute gorgeous day here today. And we've been taping these segments so that we can post them on a regular basis right here on dickandjoan.com, and we invite you to share this with your friends, put it on Facebook, and also visit the Dick and Joan events page. We keep you updated on all the things that are happening. This is just one thing that's happening on dickandjoan.com. Lots of other stuff happening as well. Thank you to Feature Productions, Steve and Chris, who are here. Today, I want to talk about the pitfalls to success. Scriptures tell us that we have an enemy, and he walks around like a roaring lion, seeking whom he may devour. You know, that's an interesting statement. It looks as though, it characterizes our enemy as a predator. Roaring lions, roaming around, seeking somebody who's vulnerable. And the truth is that at any given point in time, all of us are vulnerable in some area. Let me read this to you. It's from 1 Timothy 4 and verse 16 in the Message translation by Eugene Peterson. It says, "Keep a firm grasp on both your character and your teaching. Don't be diverted. Just keep at it. Both you and those who will hear you will experience salvation." The King James says it this way, take heed to yourself. You know, that means to pay some attention to your own personal life. I can speak with experience on this because you can't allow yourself to become exhausted. There are many contributing factors that will leave you weakened. You know, I remember a quote by Vince Lombardi who said, "Fatigue makes us cowards of us all." Vince Lombardi led the great team, the Green Bay Packers, to numerous Super Bowls. But he said this about fatigue. He said it makes cowards of us all. If we allow certain conditions to exist in our life and persist, they can have an effect on us. And then the ability that we have to stand and maintain our stand with Christ and the business or the ministry that we're called to. Here are some of the pitfalls that are in the way. One is your temptations of the mind. You know, an inflated ego, selfish ambition, wrong motivation, or self-exaltation. Unfortunately, many of those sins are in numerous leaders and people in the body of Christ, and yet are not judged as sins. We call them personality quirks, whatever we may call them, when in fact they're deadly sins because they have a wrong attitude that will bear the wrong kind of fruit. Your mind must be continually renewed, and in servanthood, an attitude of servanthood that is necessary for Christian leadership in business or in ministry. The temptation of money is another pitfall. You know, regardless of how much money you have, greed can enslave you. Someone asked Nelson Rockefeller about how much money is enough, and he said, just a little more. That was his answer, because that's the temptation of money. Is always there needs to be a little more, no matter how much we have. Of course, the temptation of morality. Regardless of the situation, how wise you are, how great you are, Solomon, the wisest man in the world, fell. And, Samson was the strongest man. He fell. David was a great king, but he fell. And thankfully, God is redemptive and restorative, But what that tells us is that everyone is vulnerable at some point in time. We're not impervious to this. Now, perhaps some of us are more susceptible in one area or another of sin, but all of us are susceptible in some way. And the temptations of the heart, well, this is probably the most insidious, because it could be bitterness, it could be fear, it could be heartaches, it could be sorrow, it could be offense. Anyway, we don't want to allow any of these pitfalls any room in our lives. We need to guard ourselves against them if we're going to succeed. Now, even if you do fail, thank God we have a redemptive God. Thank God we have someone who will restore and redeem. Jesus restored Peter days after his sin by 3 affirmations. Peter, do you love me? Yes, Lord, I love you. Then feed my sheep. And Peter was restored to be the head of the church, the rock, and the primary apostle to the Jews. He was restored through the love and the affirmation of Jesus Christ. Well, today's LifeApp, keep guard for the pitfalls that are on the way on your road to success.